أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم، برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد، اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله، وفي كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم العن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم، وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. All together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا، ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا. ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانة وعمر بن سعد والشمرة وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم صل على محمد اللهم صل على محمد. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك صوت عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم.
सलावत। फिर भी सलावत। कि ये है शिम्र ने दो कत्ल, एक खंजर से, कि ये है शिम्र ने दो कत्ल, एक खंजर से, लहू हुसैन को पहुंचा बहन की चादर से, कि ये है शिम्र ने दो कत्ल, एक खंजर से। गरीब ज़हरा वहीं रोते रोते मर जाता, गरीब ज़हरा वहीं रोते रोते मर जाता, बहन उठा के न लाती जो लाश अकबर से, कि ये है शिम्र ने दो कत्ल, एक खंजर से। किसी ने बालों से पकड़ा, कोई उठा के चला, किसी ने बालों से पकड़ा, कोई उठा के चला, सरे हुसैन को मारा, किसी ने पत्थर से, सरे हुसैन को मारा, किसी ने पत्थर से, किए है शिम्र ने उसे उठाया है बाबा की लाश से ऐसे, उसे शिम्र ने दो कात्ल एक खंजर से लहू हुसैन को पहुंचा बहन की चादर से किए है शिम्र ने सलावत।
In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Dear brothers and sisters, I send my condolences to each and every one of you on the tragic killing, on the tragic martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his family and his friends. We join on this day, on the 10th of Muharram, to signify his stance, to weep and commemorate his tragedy, and to relive the tragic horrors that befell that day. Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam narrates on Ashura day before noon, he should go to a desert or an elevated portion of his house and recite salutations to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He should curse his killers excessively and pray 2 rakats. Then he should mourn and lament over Imam Hussein, order everyone in his house to lament him, to hold a gathering in his house narrating Imam Hussein's tragedies, and to become restless on the tragedies of the Imam, to meet one another weeping and consoling one over the Imam's tragedies. And if they do so, I guarantee the Almighty Allah will record all of those rewards for him. So we're honored to have Shaykh Azhar Nasser with us, who will be reciting the Maqtal. And then followed by that we'll have Matam Dari. Then after that we will have Faka Shikni. Feel free to stay to eat here, or please do take it on your way out. And inshallah this evening we will have a Sham-e Ghariban, which will be the final installment of the series tonight at 7 p.m. Before I invite the Shaykh, again please, if I could request the brothers to stand up and edge as close to the stage as possible. We've got some seating here on the right as well, please, as there's not much space at the back. So we can make sure that we don't disturb the Shaykh during his Maqtal. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And again, please, a humble request on this day of tragedy, on this day of sorrow. When the Shaykh does start his Maqtal, please, because I request all the parents, if you've got young children, please ensure they are by your side and not causing a disturbance in the hall. Again, there is an overflow area and a crash facilities on site, so please do make use of them. Out of respect for the tragedy of Imam Hussein, so we can peacefully mourn, and the Shaykh as well can narrate the tragedy as well. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now if I could please invite the Shaykh to the minbar. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالحسين عليه السلام، وجعلنا وإياكم من الطالبين بثأره مع وليه الإمام المهدي من آل محمد. لما أصبح الحسين يوم عاشوراء وصلى بأصحابه صلاة الصبح، قام خطيبا فيهم on the day of Ashura. At the time of dawn, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam led his companions in the dawn prayer. After the prayer, he addressed his companions, saying to them, Inna Allah qad adhina fi qatli wa qatlikum fi hadha al-yawm fa'alaykum bis-sabri wal-qital. He says to his companions that Allah Azza wa Jal has decreed on this day that we fight in His way. Therefore on this day you must observe patience and steadfastness. The Imam alayhi salam, on the early morning of Ashura, he began preparing his men for battle. He began to mobilize his men. He summoned Habib ibn Madahir al-Asadi and gave him the command of the right wing of the army. He then summoned Zuhair ibn al-Qayn and gave him charge of the left wing of the army. He then gave the standard to his brother Abbas. Umar ibn Sa'ad had assembled an army of 30,000 fighters. When Imam al-Hussein looked upon the enemy and he saw the multitude of their numbers, he raised his hands in dua. Allahumma anta thiqati fi kulli karb wa raja'i fi kulli shiddah وأنت لي في كل أمر نزل بي ثقة وعدة. O my Lord, you are my haven in every mishap and my hope in every predicament. You are my refuge and defense in every ordeal. The Imam alayhi salam, he mounted his horse and he stood in front of the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad. He began addressing them, asking them, هل تعرفونني? Don't you people know who I am? هل تعلمون أن جدي رسول الله? Don't you people know that Muhammad Rasulullah is my grandfather? هل تعلمون أن أمي فاطمة الزهراء بنت محمد? Don't you know that my mother Fatima is the daughter of Muhammad? هل تعلمون أن أبي علي بن أبي طالب? Don't you people know that my father is Ali ibn Abi Talib? هل تعلمون أن جدتي خديجة بنت خويلد? Don't you know that my grandmother is Khadija, the daughter of Khuwaylid? هل تعلمون أن سيد الشهداء حمزة عم أبي? Don't you people know that Hamza, the master of martyrs, is my uncle? هل تعلمون أن جعفر الطيار في الجنة عمي? Don't you people know that Ja'far al-Tayyar is my uncle, the one who will have wings in paradise? هل تعلمون أن هذا سيف رسول الله وأنا مقلده? Don't you know that I am holding in my hand the sword of my grandfather Rasulullah? هل تعلمون أن هذه عمامة رسول الله أنا لابسها? Don't you people see that the turban that I am wearing is the turban of my grandfather Rasulullah? They responded to the Imam, saying to the Imam, قد علمنا ذلك كله ونحن غير تاركيك حتى تذوق الموت عطشانا. We know all of this, O Hussein, and we will not leave you until we make you taste death while you are thirsty. The Imam alayhi salam, he then says, اشتد غضب الله على اليهود إذ قالوا عزير بن الله, that the Jews incurred the wrath of Allah by claiming that Uzair is the son of Allah. واشتد غضب الله على النصارى إذ قالوا عيسى ابن الله, and the Christians incurred the wrath of Allah by claiming that Jesus was his son. واشتد غضب الله على هذه العصابة الذين يريدون قتل ابن بنت نبيهم, and this group of people, the Muslims, they have incurred the wrath of Allah by seeking to kill the grandson of the Messenger of Allah. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he says to the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, know that everything that I am saying to you is the truth. If you don't believe me, ask Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, the companion of Rasulullah. Ask Zayd ibn Arqam if you don't believe my words. Ask Anas ibn Malik, ask the companions of the Prophet about what I am saying to you. Qais ibn al-Ash'ad said to Imam al-Hussein that, O Hussein, you must give allegiance to Yazid ibn Muawiyah. The Imam alayhi salam responded to him saying, والله لا أعطيكم بيدي إعطاء الذليل ولا أفر فرار العبيد. I will never give allegiance to him and I will never flee from you. The Imam alayhi salam, again he raised his hands in dua, making a dua against his enemies, saying in the dua, Allahumma ahbis anhum qatarat as-sama' wab'ath alayhim sinina kasinini Yusuf. Oh Allah, give them no rain, afflict them with the barren years like the barren years of Yusuf. The narrations say that before the battle was going to begin, Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi, one of the commanders of the brigades, he turned to Umar ibn Sa'd when he saw that the battle was about to begin. He turned to Umar ibn Sa'd and he asked him, أَمُقَاتِلٌ أَنْتَ هَذَا? Are you really going to fight Hussein? When he responded in the affirmative, Hur began to tremble, he began to shake. When his companions saw that he was startled, that he was trembling, they said to him, Oh Hur, what is the matter with you? If someone were to ask us who is the most brave man in Kufa, we would have said it is Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. He says to his companions, إني أرى نفسي مخيرة بين الجنة والنار ولا أختار على الجنة شيئا. Hur, he mounts his horse, he charges towards Imam al-Hussein. He advances towards the camp of Hussein with his hands upon his head, with his face veiled. Imam al-Hussein and his companions, they step forward thinking that an enemy combatant is approaching, and he cries out to the Imam, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein, he asks him, who are you? Hur responds saying, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, أنا صاحبك الذي منعتك عن الطريق وجعجعت بك وبأهلك إلى هذا المكان. I am the one who blocked you from Kufa. I am the reason why your family is here. I am the cause of all of your distress. فهل ترى لي من توبة. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he welcomes him and he says to him, Ya hur in tubta tab Allahu alayk. The narrations say that Umar ibn Sa'ad, he draw closer to the camp of Hussein. He placed an arrow in his bow and he shot the first arrow at the camp of Hussein. And he said to his men, bear witness with the Amir, bear witness with Ibn Ziyad that I was the first to shoot an arrow at Hussein and his family. After Umar ibn Sa'ad shot the arrow, the enemies began showering the camp of Imam al-Hussein with arrows. At this moment, Imam al-Hussein, he turns to his companions saying to them, قوموا رحمكم الله إلى الموت الذي لا بد من هذه السهام رسل القوم إليكم. He says to his men, rise up, may Allah have mercy upon you. These are the messengers of death that have come to you from the people. In that first shower of arrows, the narrations say that tens of the companions of Imam al-Hussein were martyred. One after one, the companions come forward seeking permission from Imam al-Hussein to go and fight. And whenever Imam al-Hussein lost a companion, he would recite the ayah, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The narrations say that companion after companion came forward. Among the companions was Muslim ibn Awsaja. Muslim ibn Awsaja was a man of great love for Imam al-Hussein. He was the one on the previous night who said to Imam al-Hussein that if I am martyred and I am brought back to life and I am martyred, I would do it 1,000 times before I abandon you. Muslim ibn Awsaja seeks permission from the Imam. He enters the battlefield. He fights courageously. He fights valiantly until he is hit with a fatal blow. When he falls on the sands of Karbala, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he rushes to him. Habib ibn Madahir, his lifelong friend, also rushes to his body. Habib looks at Muslim and he says, يَعِزُّ عَلَيَّ مَصْرَعُكَ يَا مُسْلِمْ أَبْشِرْ بِالْجَنَّةِ. O Muslim, it pains me to see you in this state, but have the glad tidings of paradise. Habib then says to Muslim, لو لم أعلم أني على الأثر لأحببت أن توصي إلي بما أهمك. O Muslim, if I knew that I was going to live long after you, I would have asked you for your wasiyah, but very soon I will join you. At this moment, Muslim ibn Awsaja, he looks at Habib and then he points at Hussein and he says, أوصيك بهذا الغريب. My only wish is that you look after Hussein, that you defend him, that you do not allow any harm to come to him. After the companions are martyred one after the other, Habib ibn Madahir seeks permission from the Imam. Habib ibn Madahir is the senior Sahabi of Imam al-Hussein. When Habib enters the battlefield and he is struck, the Imam alayhi salam began to cry, reciting the ayah of the Quran, eulogizing Habib. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. After the martyrdom of Habib, the narrations tell us that John ibn Huway, he comes to Imam al-Hussein. He was a slave that belonged to Abu Dhar. After the death of Abu Dhar, he joined the family of Rasulullah. He was an elderly man. He was an African slave. He comes to Imam al-Hussein. وقف John مولى أبي ذر الغفاري أمام الحسين. He stood in front of Imam al-Hussein. This elderly man, he seeks permission from the Imam. The Imam refuses to grant him permission. He says to him, "Oh John, why don't you save yourself? Why don't you escape? Ya John, إنما تبعتنا طلبا للعافية فأنت في إذن مني." Oh John, you joined our family in pursuit of a better life. You have my permission to escape. You can leave. You are not required to fight. فوقع John على قدميه يقبلهما. John, he fell to the ground and he began kissing the feet of Imam al-Hussein, begging him to give him permission to fight. He says to the Imam, "Ya ibn Rasulillah, أنا في الرخاء ألحس قصاعكم وفي الشدة أخذلكم." Oh Imam, you expect me to be with you during the times of ease and abandon you during the times of difficulty. لا والله لا أفارقكم. Ya Hussein, I will never abandon you حتى يختلط هذا الدم الأسود مع دمائكم. I will not abandon you, Ya Aba Abdullah, until the blood of this black man is mixed with your blood. Imam al-Hussein, he gives him permission and he enters the battlefield. John, he fights courageously. He fights and he kills a large number of the enemies until he falls on the plains of Karbala. He cries out to the Imam, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, adrikni." The Imam alayhi salam, he rushes to him. When he reaches him, the narrations say that he cradles him, he comforts him in his final moments, and he does something very unique with John. He puts his cheek on the cheek of John as he's about to leave this world. John, when he feels the cheek of Imam al-Hussein, he begins to cry. قال من مثلي وابن رسول الله واضع خده على خدي. How fortunate I am, how lucky I am that the grandson of Rasulullah puts his cheek on my cheek. When the sun was directly overhead on the day of Ashura, one of the companions of Imam al-Hussein by the name of Abu Thumamat al-Sa'idi, he comes to the Imam. He says to the Imam, "Ya ibn Rasulillah, laqad hana waqtu as-salah." Ya Aba Abdullah, it is the time of Salat al-Dhuhr. The Imam alayhi salam, he looks up at the sky. He sees that the sun is directly overhead. He says to him, "Na'am hadha awwal waqtiha." Yes, indeed, this is the beginning of the time of Salat al-Dhuhr. And then the Imam alayhi salam, he makes a dua for this man for remembering Salah, saying to him, "Dhakarta as-salah, ja'alaka Allahu min al-musallin al-dhakirin." You remembered the salah. May Allah make you among those who establish the prayer and make you among those who remember him. As they were preparing for the salah, Imam al-Hussein appoints Zuhair ibn al-Qayn and Sa'id ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi to stand in front of him to guard them while they offer their salah. The Imam alayhi salam asked Umar bin Sa'ad and the army to stop the fighting so they could establish their salah, but they did not desist. They continued to shower arrows on the Imam as he stood for salah. When the Imam alayhi salam began his salah, he recited Takbiratul Ihram, Allahu Akbar. Zuhair is standing in front of him. Sa'id ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi is standing, shielding the Imam from the arrows. As soon as the Imam began his salah, the sky was filled with arrows showering down. Zuhair would absorb the arrows with his chest. Sa'id ibn Abdullah would catch the arrows with his neck. They would take the arrows to protect the arrow from hitting their Mawla. Sa'id ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, he stood there. He was holding himself, waiting for the Imam alayhi salam to finish his salah. When he heard the Imam conclude his prayer, he fell on the plains of Karbala. He fell in front of Hussein. Before he died, Sa'id ibn Abdullah, he looks at the Imam and he says to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, hal wafayna ma'ak? Ya Aba Abdullah, was I loyal to you? The Imam alayhi salam, he says to him, may Allah have mercy upon you. May Allah have mercy upon you. Send my salam to Rasulullah. You will see him in a few moments. One after the other, the companions of the Imam would lay their souls down before the Imam until there were only two companions left. The two companions that were left, they came to the Imam alayhi salam. They said to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, do you give us permission to go and fight? The Imam alayhi salam, he says to them, Rahimakumullah, idhaba wa sallima li ala jaddi Rasulillah. Go ahead and fight and send my salam to Rasulullah. But the two companions, they stood in front of Imam al-Hussein and they began to weep. The Imam alayhi salam, he said to them, why are you crying? They said to the Imam, who is going to be left to defend you after we are gone? A young boy came to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam after the companions were martyred. His name was Amr ibn Junad al-Ansari. He was a young boy. He came to Abi Abdullah al-Hussein asking him for permission. The Imam alayhi salam, he recognized him and he said that this man's father was killed earlier in the battle. I don't think his mother could handle another calamity on this day. She had already lost her husband. I don't want to add to her calamities. The Imam alayhi salam, he told the boy to go back. He said to him, I don't think your mother would allow you to go into the battlefield. The young boy says to the Imam, Inna ummi hiya allati amaratni. That Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, it is my mother who told me to come to you and seek permission to fight. The Imam alayhi salam, he still declined. He sent him back to his mother. The mother holds the hand of the boy. She walks to Imam al-Hussein. She says to him, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, why do you not give my son permission to fight? The Imam alayhi salam, he says to her that you already lost your husband and this is only a young boy. She says to the Imam, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, أتثكل أمك الزهراء بولدها ولا أثكل. She says to him, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, is it fair that Fatima to Zahra sacrifices her son, but I don't sacrifice my son? After all of the companions were martyred, the narrations say that it was now the time of Bani Hashim to come forward. The first one to come forward from Bani Hashim was the son of Imam al-Hussein, Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar, he comes to his father seeking permission to enter the battlefield. The Imam alayhi salam, the narrations say that he granted him permission, but he started to look at the face of his son. There was a moment where he paused. The narrations say, فَنَظَرَ إِلَيْهِ نَظْرَ آيِسٍ مِّنْ. Imam al-Hussein, he looks at Ali al-Akbar with eyes of despair, knowing that he's going to lose his son very soon. As Ali al-Akbar is putting on his armor, he's putting on his helmet, he is preparing to enter the battlefield. Imagine the heart of Imam al-Hussein. He raises his hands in dua. He says, Allahumma ashhad ala ha'ula'il qawm. Oh Allah, bear witness over these people. Why ya Aba Abdullah? فَقَدْ بَرَزَ إِلَيْهِمْ غُلَامٌ أَشْبَهُ النَّاسِ خَلْقًا وَخُلُقًا وَمَنطِقًا بِرَسُولِكَ مُحَمَّدٍ. Oh Allah, bear witness over these people that I am sending my son, I am sending a youth into the battlefield who resembles your messenger Muhammad in appearance, in behavior, and in speech. وَكُنَّا إِذَا اشْتَقْنَا إِلَى نَبِيِّكَ نَظَرْنَا إِلَى وَجْهِكَ. And whenever we would miss Rasulullah, we would look at the face of Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar, he mounts his horse. The son of Hussein, the grandson of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He mounts his horse. He introduces himself to the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. He says to them with a proud voice, with a courageous voice, saying to them, أنا علي بن الحسين بن علي نحن وبيت الله أولى بالنبي والله لا يحكم فينا ابن الدعي أطعنكم بالرمح حتى ينثني أضربكم بالسيف أحمي عن أبي ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. He enters the battlefield. His mother Layla is in the tent. She does not have the heart to come out of the tent. She is afraid to see the battlefield. So what does she do? She looks at the face of Aba Abdullah. She's asking him, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, is my son okay? The Imam says to her, you are a mother, make dua for your son. She says, oh Allah, Ya Radd Yusuf ila Yaqub. Oh Allah, oh the one who sent Yusuf back to Yaqub, send my son back to me. Ali al-Akbar, he fights valiantly. The narrations say, look at the dua of the mother. He returns to the tent of Imam al-Husayn. What does he need from his father? قال أبا يا أبا العطش قد قتلني. قال أبا يا أبا العطش قد قتلني وثقل الحديد أجهدني. Oh my father Hussein, the thirst is killing me and the heaviness of the armor is fatiguing me. فهل إلى شربة من الماء سبيل أتقوى بها على الأعداء. Is there a little bit of water so that I can drink, so I can gain energy and go back and fight? The Imam alayhi salam, he says to his son, oh my son, if you think that you are thirsty, come and feel the tongue of your father. The Imam alayhi salam, he removes his ring and he says to his son Ali, oh my son, put my ring in your mouth so that perhaps it could moisten it. And before you go back, go and farewell your mother Layla. He goes back into the battlefield. The Imam alayhi salam, he says, oh my son, do not worry. Very soon you will receive a cup of water from your grandfather Rasulullah. A cup of water that after you drink from it, you will never be thirsty. Ali al-Akbar, he goes back into the battlefield. He fights until he is struck. Ya mu'mineen, he falls on the plains of Karbala. Assalamu alayka ya abata, adrikni ya abata, hadha jaddi Rasulullah, qad saqani bika'si al-awfa. Oh my father Hussein, you were right. Now I see Rasulullah handing me water, and he says to you, Ya Hussein, ajjal al-qudum ilayna. Oh Hussein, hasten to us, because there is a cup of water waiting for you, Ya Aba Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein, he rushes to the battlefield. He reaches the body of his son. The narrations say that he begins weeping bitterly over the body of Ali. He cries out, Waladi qataluk. Look what they did to you, oh my beloved. Waladi qataluk. He puts his cheek on the cheek of his son, and he cries out, ala dunya ya ba'daka al-afa. That life has no value after you, O Ali. The Imam alayhi salam was so grief-stricken that he could not carry the body of his son. He says to Bani Hashim, Ya Bani Hashim, ihmilu akhakum Ali ila al-fustat. Come and carry the body of your brother Ali to the tent. One after the other, the Bani Hashim, they sacrifice, they lay their lives down in front of their Imam. Until, ya mu'mineen, all of the Bani Hashim were martyred. When Abbas saw that the death toll was rising, he ordered his brothers to enter the battlefield. The brothers of Abbas, they entered. Abdullah entered the battlefield and he was martyred. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas sent his other brother Uthman, and Uthman was also martyred. Abbas then sends his other brother Ja'far, until all of the brothers of Abbas are martyred. The narrations say at this stage in the battle, all of the companions were martyred. All of the Bani Hashim, the cousins of Imam al-Hussein, were martyred. The sons of Aqil were martyred. The sons of Ja'far were martyred. All of the family members were martyred. There were now 2 men standing on the plains of Karbala. At this moment, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, the standard bearer of the army of Hussein, he sees that there are no more fighters left. He comes to his brother Imam al-Hussein. He says to him, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, I have been waiting very patiently. قال سيدي أبا عبد الله هل من رخصة? Do you now give me permission to go and fight? When Imam al-Hussein saw that there was no one left but Abbas, and Abbas wants permission to go and fight, the narrations say that Imam al-Hussein looked at Abbas وَبَكَى بُكَاءً شَدِيدًا. When Imam al-Hussein looked at Abbas, when he heard him asking for permission, the narrations say that he began to weep. Imam al-Hussein, he looks at Abbas, he says to him, Ya akhi, Ya Aba al-Fadl, anta sahibu liwa'i. You are the flag bearer of my army. إذا مضيت تفرق عسكري. If I lose you, O Abbas, I don't have an army anymore. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he begins pleading with his brother Hussein. He says to him, Fidaka ruhu akhik. May my soul be sacrificed for you, Ya Aba Abdullah. Ya Sayyidi, لقد ضاق صدري من الحياة الدنيا. Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, have mercy on me. My heart is in distress. Please give me permission to fight. أريد أن أخذ الثأر من هؤلاء المنافقين. Just give me permission so I can punish these hypocrites for what they did to you and your family. Imam al-Hussein, he says to him that I don't want you to fight, but I have a mission for you, Ya Aba al-Fadl. What is the mission? What do you want from me, Sayyidi? He says, I want you to get water for the women and the children. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he mounts his horse. He's carrying the water sack. He says to Imam al-Hussein, Sayyidi Aba Abdullah, I know you did not give me permission to fight, but I ask you, if anyone comes in front of me, do I have your permission to strike him? The Imam says, if anyone comes in front of you, you have my permission to strike him. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he sees thousands guarding the Euphrates, but he charges towards the Euphrates. The enemies disperse. The narrations say that he kills over 100 until he reaches Shatt al-Furat. All of the enemies scatter. No one has courage to come in front of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He dismounts his horse, holding the flag of Hussein. He enters the water. He places his hand in that cold water. He brings the water close to his lips. He feels the coolness of the water. But at this moment, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas wants to send a message to the world, saying to them, if Abbas wanted to drink, there is no one that could have stopped him. But I chose not to drink because my Mawla Abu Abdullah is thirsty. He takes the water, he scoops it, he splashes it back, and then he begins addressing himself. Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Husayn huni وبعده لا كنت أو تكوني هذا الحسين وارد المنون وتشربين بارد المعين تالله ما هذا فعال ديني ولا فعال صادق اليقين. He fills the water, he fills the sack with water. He mounts his horse, holding his sword, holding the flag, holding the water sack. His only mission now, his only goal is to return to the camp of Abu Abdullah. The enemies of Hussein were treacherous people. They were the most cowardice of people. None of them had the courage to stand in front of Abu al-Fadl. So they would hide behind the palm trees as Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is riding towards the Imam. The narrations say that a man hid behind one of the trees. When Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas passed, Ya mu'mineen, he struck and he severed the right hand. قال إن قطعتم يميني إني أحامي أبدا عن ديني وعن إمام صادق اليقين. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, now he's holding the water skin with his teeth. He has lost his right arm. Anyone else would have collapsed. Anyone else would have given up. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is now holding his sword in his left hand and holding the water skin in his mouth. The narrations say that he continues to charge forward until another man hiding, Ya mu'mineen, as Abu al-Fadl passes, he severs the left arm of Abbas. يا نفس لا تخشي من الكفار وأبشري برحمة الجبار مع النبي السيد المختار قد قطعوا ببغيهم يساري. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is holding the water skin by his teeth. He doesn't have any arms to defend himself. He falls from his horse. But ya mu'mineen, usually when you fall, you have your arms to break your fall. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, he falls on his face. He manages to stand up. The narrations say that they start to shower him with arrows. The narrations say that he stood. He wasn't able to defend himself. An arrow hit the chest of Abbas. But the most painful arrow was the arrow that hit the water sack, and he saw the water spill on the place of Karbala. فوقف العباس متحيرا. Now Abbas didn't know what to do. He doesn't have water to give to the children. He doesn't have arms to defend himself. So what do? They start to throw rocks at him. They start to strike him. They start to throw arrows at him until he falls. When Imam al-Hussein sees that Abu al-Fadl has fallen, he sees the flag has fallen, he cried out, الآن انكسر ظهري الآن انكسر ظهري. Imam al-Hussein, he charged into the battlefield and he was chasing the enemies away, saying to them, أين تفرون وقد قتلتم أخي? Where are you going to escape from while you have killed my brother? Imam al-Hussein, he approaches the body of Abbas. Abbas's eyes are covered in blood. There is an arrow in his eye. Abbas hears footsteps approaching him and he says, Billahi alayk illa amhaltani hunay'a. Please do not cut off my head. Give me a few moments. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas did not recognize that it was his brother Hussein who was approaching him. Imam al-Hussein, he asked, what do you want with a few moments? He said, I want a few moments حتى يأتي إلي ابن والدي وأقبله ويقبل لي وأودعه ويودعني. I want a few more moments so that the son of my father can come to me, so that I can farewell him, so I can kiss my brother Hussein. The Imam alayhi salam, he sits beside Abu al-Fadl. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas says to his brother Hussein that I know that you take all of the bodies back to the camp, but I want you to leave my body here near the bank of the Euphrates. The Imam alayhi salam, he asks him why. Abbas says, I don't want Sakina to see me like that. I don't want Sakina to see me like this. I promise to get water for your children. I cannot face them without giving them water. The enemies began clapping and rejoicing after Abbas was killed. Imam al-Hussein, after losing Abbas, he said to his body, أخي من للعيال بعدك? Who will protect the women and the children after you, O Abbas? أخي من للفواطم بعدك? O Abbas, who will protect the Fatimas of my family after you? When Imam al-Hussein returned to the camp, Sayyida Zainab asked, what happened to Abbas? Imam al-Hussein did not respond. Everyone is asking about Abbas. Aba Abdullah did not break the news to them. What did he do? He went to the tent of Abbas. He grabbed the pole and he removed it, and the tent of Abbas collapsed. After all of the adults were martyred, The only ones left were the children. All of the adult males were martyred. The only adult male that remained was Imam Zainul Abidin. The narrations say that the Imam alayhi salam, when he was all alone, when all of the adult males were martyred, he stood in front of the army of Umar ibn Sa'd and he cried out, "Ala hal min nasirin yansuruna? Ala hal min dhabbin yadhubbu an harami Rasulillah?" At this point, the children came out of their tents saying, "Labbayk Sayyidi Aba Abdullah." Al-Qasim, the son of Imam al-Mujtaba, came out of his tent. He said to his uncle Hussein, "Do you give me permission to fight?" Imam al-Hussein says no to his nephew, "You are still young, I do not want you to go and fight." Al-Qasim, he goes into his tent, he retrieves a letter that was written by his father Imam al-Mujtaba, the wasiyah of Imam al-Hasan for his son Qasim. He takes the letter, he gives it to Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein, he opens the letter, he recognizes the handwriting of his brother. In the letter, Imam al-Hasan addresses his son Qasim, saying to him, "Ya Bunay, يا بني إذا رأيت عمك الحسين وحيدا فريدا." Oh my son Qasim, if there ever comes a day when you see your uncle Hussein all alone in a land called Karbala, فلا تقصر عن نصرته. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he gives permission to Qasim to enter. There is no shield for Qasim to wear because the shield for the adult males would not fit him. There is no helmet that could fit him. So the Imam alayhi salam, he ties a cloth around his head and he ties some cloth around his chest. Al-Qasim, he runs into the battlefield. The enemies say, "We thought we killed all of the fighters. Who is this young man?" He cries out, "In tunkiruni fa'ana najlu al-Hasan, sibtu al-Nabi al-Mustafa wal-Mu'taman, hadha Husaynun kal-asir al-murtahan, bayna unasin la suqu sawb al-muzan." He fights and he fights, he kills a large number of the enemy until his sandal snapped. He lowered his head to fix his sandal, and one of the cursed ones of the enemy of Umar ibn Sa'd, he struck the head of Qasim. Qasim falls on the plains of Karbala. He cries out, "Oh my uncle Hussein, adrikni." Imam al-Hussein, he rushes to Qasim. When he reaches him, it is too late. He is already mortally wounded. The Imam alayhi salam, imagine how painful it was for Abi Abdullah to see his nephew and not able to help him. He says, "يَعُزُّ عَلَىٰ عَمِّكَ أَن تَدْعُوهُ فَلَا يُجِيبُكَ أو يُجِيبُكَ فَلَا يُعِينُكَ أو يُعِينُكَ فَلَا يُغْنِي عَنْكَ." Imam al-Hussein, he begins to cry and he says that the ones who will complain that these people will have to answer to Allah, they will see your grandfather Rasulullah on the day of judgment. بعدا لقوم قتلوك وخصمهم يوم القيامة جدك وأبوك. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he takes the body of Al-Qasim and he puts it in the tent right beside the body of Ali al-Akbar. Imagine how difficult it was for Sayyida Zainab. She entered the tent and now she sees the body of Ali al-Akbar and the body of Qasim. Imagine the two beloved sons of Hassan and Hussein are in the tent. The Imam alayhi salam, he then enters the tent of Imam Zainul Abidin. He enters the tent to farewell his son. He goes and checks on his son Zainul Abidin. Imam al-Sajjad was ill on the 10th of Muharram and he was not able to participate in the battle. He was going in and out of consciousness, unaware of what was transpiring on the battlefield. When he regained consciousness and he saw his father Hussein standing in his tent, he asked him, Ya abata, ma sana'ta al-yawma ma'a ha'ula'i al-munafiqeen. Oh my father Hussein, what did you do today against these hypocrites? Imam al-Hussein, he says to Imam al-Sajjad, Ya waladi, قد استحوذ عليهم الشيطان فأنساهم ذكر الله. Shaitan has conquered the hearts of these evil men and he has made them forget the remembrance of Allah. The first question that Imam al-Sajjad asks his father Hussein, he says to him, Ya abata, ayna ammi al-Abbas? Where is my uncle Abbas? The Imam was unconscious. It seems that when Abbas was martyred, he says to him, Ya bunay, inna ammaka qad qutil wa qata'u yadayhi ala shati al-Furat. He breaks the news to Imam al-Sajjad that your uncle was killed. His arms were severed. The narrations say that when Imam al-Sajjad heard that Abbas was killed, Imam Zainul Abidin fainted. When he regained consciousness, he asks his father again, Oh my father Hussein, wa ayna akhi Ali al-Akbar? What happened to my brother Ali? Where is Habib ibn Madahir? Where is Zuhair? Where are all of your ashab? Imam al-Hussein, he says, Ya bunay, اعلم أنه ليس في الخيام رجل إلا أنا وأنت. Oh my son, know that the only adult males that remain are you and I. When Imam al-Sajjad hears this, when he realizes that his father does not have any more support, Imam al-Sajjad, he turns to Sayyida Zainab. He says to her, Ya ammata, oh my beloved aunt, alayya bis-sayfi wal-asa. Hand me my sword and my staff. They say to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, what do you want to do with a staff and a sword? قال أما العصا فأتوكأ عليها. I want my staff so I can lean on it, so it can help me stand. وأما السيف فأذب به بين يدي ابن بنت رسول الله فإنه لا خير في الحياة بعده. I want my sword so I can fight alongside the grandson of Rasulullah, because there is no value in this life after him. Imam al-Hussein says to Sayyida Zainab, do not allow him to enter the battlefield, because if this son of mine is killed, the progeny of Muhammad will be eradicated. The Imam alayhi salam, before going back into the battlefield, he says to the women folk, Nawiluni aliyan ibni hatta uwaddi'a. Give me my infant son, give me Abdullah al-Radi', give me Aliyun al-Asghar, so I can farewell my beautiful son. They say to him, Aba Abdullah, the child has stopped crying. He has not had milk. The child is dying of thirst. Before you go and fight, try to get some water for this child. The Imam alayhi salam, he carries the baby. He presents the baby. He raises the baby up high. He says to the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, Ya qawm, O people, in kana lirrijali dhanbun fama dhanbu hadha ar-radi'. If you believe that the men have committed a crime, what is the crime of this infant child? In lam tarhamuni farhamu hadha at-tifl. If you don't want to show me mercy, then at least show some mercy to this child. There was commotion and disputation in the army of Umar ibn Sa'd. Some of them said, give water to the baby. What harm can this baby cause to us? Others said, do not give him a single drop. Let him die thirsty with his father. Umar ibn Sa'd, he says to Harmala, Ya Harmala, iqta' niza' al-qawm. Put an end to all of this arguing and disputation. Harmala takes his three-pronged arrow. He asked Umar ibn Sa'd, where should I shoot? He says to him, wait until you see the little neck of the baby. Harmala, he takes the arrow. As Imam al-Hussein is pleading for water, the arrow is shot. It pierces the neck of the child. The child begins fluttering like a bird that has been slaughtered. فَذَبَحَهُ مِنَ الْوَرِيدِ إِلَى الْوَرِيدِ. The narrations say it's as if the baby looked up at his father. There was a moment where this child looked up as though to say that I thought I was safe in your arms, O Father. The Imam alayhi salam, he collects the blood of the child. The blood is pouring from the neck of the child. He fills his hand, he throws up the blood into the sky. Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he says, فَلَمْ يَسْقُطْ مِنْ ذَلِكَ الدَّمْ قَطْرَةٌ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ. That not a single drop of that blood came back to the earth. The narrations say, at this moment, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was now all alone on the plains of Karbala. He returns to the camp a final time and he calls out to the women, Ya Zaynab, Ya Kulthum, Ya Sukaynata, Ya Ruqayya, Hadha Akhirul Wida'. Now the time has come. I have to farewell you. This is the final moment. فَقُومُوا إِلَى التَّوْدِيعِ. Come and farewell me. He explains to them that after me, Imam Zainul Abidin will be the Imam. His obedience is obligatory upon all. The narrations say, when he farewells all of them, as he's entering the battlefield, he feels a little hand tugging on his cloak. He turns and he sees that it is his daughter Sakina. She says to him, "Oh my father, ya abata, istaslamta lil maut. Have you surrendered to death, oh my father?" He says to her, وَكَيْفَ لَا يَسْتَسْلِمُ لِلْمَوْتِ مَنْ لَا نَاصِرَ لَهُ وَلَا مُعِينَ. How can I not surrender to death when I have no helper or supporter? He exhorts all of the women to show patience, to be resilient. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he mounts his horse. As he's about to enter the battlefield, he hears a female voice behind him saying, "Mahla, mahla, ya ibn Azhar." "Mahla, mahla, ya ibn Azhar." Wait, ya Aba Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein sees that it is his sister Zainab. She says to him, "Aba Abdullah, please dismount your horse." The Imam alayhi salam, he comes down from his horse. She says, "Come close to me." The Imam alayhi salam, he approaches her. She says to him, "Oh my brother Hussein, remove your shield." She says to him, "Remove your shield." The Imam alayhi salam, he removes his armor. She approaches the Imam. She hugs her brother Hussein. She kisses his chest. She kisses the chest of Aba Abdullah. Then she kisses the neck of Imam al-Hussein. And then she turns her face to Medina. She turns her face to Medina. And she calls out, "Assalamu alayki ya ummah." Peace be upon you, O my mother Fatima. فقد استرجعت الوديعة. She says, أديت الأمانة. I have fulfilled the trust, O my mother Fatima. Imam al-Hussein, he says, "What trust did you have with our mother Fatima?" She says to him, "Aba Abdullah, before our mother passed away, she said to me that if you see your brother Hussein all alone without any help in the land of Karbala, go and kiss him on his chest and kiss his neck and tell him that these kisses are from your mother Fatima." The Imam alayhi salam, he farewells all of the women and the children. He stood there all alone against an army of tens of thousands. نظر يمينا وشمالا فلم يرى إلا من صاحف التراب جبينه. He looked across the battlefield and there was nothing but mutilated bodies. He saw the bodies of his companions, and he started to speak to the dead bodies of his companions. He said, "Ya abtal al-safa wa fursan al-ayja, ma li ad'ukum fala tastajibun." He calls out to his companions saying, "Why is it that I call upon you but you do not answer me? ما لي أناديكم فلا تجيبون وأدعوكم فلا تسمعون أنيام أنتم أرجوكم تنتبهون أم حالت مودتكم عن إمامكم فلا تنصرون فهذه نساء الرسول لفقدكم قد علاهن النحول. He says to his companions, I need you. The women and the children, they need you. But how can I blame you when your heads have been separated from your bodies? How can I blame you when you have left this life? The Imam alayhi salam, he makes one final call for help on the day of Ashura. He cries out one last time, ألا هل من ناصر ينصر له ألا هل من ذاب يذب عن حرم رسول الله. There is no answer, there is no one to help Abi Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein, he mounts his horse. It is now the time for Abi Abdullah to go and fight. He draws his sword, saying to them, Ana Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali. I am Hussein, the son of Ali. He introduces himself, Humayd ibn Muslim. He comments here, he says, Wallahi ma ra'aytu rajulan qad qutila ashabuhu wa wulduhu arbatu جأشا وشجاعة من هذا الحسين. I swear by Allah that I have never seen a man who has lost more family members and relatives and yet is so courageous and so bold and so resilient than this Husayn ibn Ali. They launched collective attacks against the Imam. No one dared to fight Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam in one-on-one combat. Whenever he would chase them, they would flee from him like in the way that goats flee from an angry lion. They managed to separate Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam from the women and the children. Imam al-Hussein saw that the enemies were approaching the camp of the women and the children. He looked with anger at Umar ibn Sa'ad. He said to him, Ya Umar, ya ala Abi Sufyan, إن لم تكونوا مسلمين فكونوا أحرارا في دنياكم فكونوا أعرابا كما تدعون. O Umar ibn Sa'ad, O family of Abu Sufyan, if you are not Muslims, then at least act like Arabs who have ghayra over women and children. Leave the women and the children. They started to shoot arrows at Imam al-Hussein. They would throw javelins at him. Those who did not have any weapons, they would pick up rocks. They would throw rocks at Imam al-Hussein. The Imam was heavily wounded. He was so wounded that he could no longer ride his horse. He descended from his horse. A man came to the Imam and he threw a big rock that hit the forehead of Abu Abdullah. The rock split the forehead of Imam al-Hussein. Harmala, from a distance, he shot a three-pronged arrow into the chest of Abu Abdullah. The blood was pouring from his forehead. The blood was gushing from his chest. Imam al-Hussein, he collected the blood and he wiped it all over his face. he drenched his beard with blood, saying, Bismillahi wa billah wa ala millati Rasulillah, hakadha alqa jaddi wa ana mukhadhamun bidami. I am going to meet my grandfather Rasulullah in this state with my beard drenched with blood, and I will say to my grandfather, qatalani fulanun wa fulan. The Imam alayhi salam, he was not able to stand any longer. He was not able to even sit. Aba Abdullah was now lying on the place of Karbala. A man approached the Imam. When he saw that the Imam could not move and he was bleeding profusely, he approached the Imam al-Hussein and he began to curse Abi Abdullah. The man took out his sword and he struck the head of Abu Abdullah. Abdullah, the young son of Imam al-Hasan, from his tent, he saw that his uncle Hussein was in danger. So he ran to the battlefield to cover his uncle Hussein. He saw another man approaching his uncle with a sword. The man raised his sword. He wanted to strike the body of Aba Abdullah. The young son of Imam al-Hasan, Abdullah, he looked up at this man and he said to him, Ya ibn al-Khabitha, ataqtulu ammi. He said, oh, the son of the cursed woman, are you trying to kill my uncle? The man, he raises his sword. Abdullah, he shields the body of Aba Abdullah, and the man severed the arm of Abdullah. The young boy, he looks at his uncle Hussein and he said to him, Amma, laqad qata'u yamini. He says to his uncle, oh my uncle, look what they did to my arm. Harmala shot an arrow at this boy and he killed him beside Imam al-Hussein. وبقي الحسين مطروحا على الأرض مليا. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam was laying on the sands of Karbala. It is narrated, one man says, one man from the enemy, everyone was afraid to do the job of finishing Hussein. Each was afraid to do the final job, to sever his head. One man from the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, he says, I approached Hussein to kill him. When I came close to Hussein, he was on the sands and he looked at me. He says, when Hussein looked at me, his eyes looked like the eyes of Rasulullah. He says his eyes looked like the eyes of Rasulullah, and I could hear him whispering, وَحَقْ جَدِّي أَنَا عَطْشَانٌ. He says, I swear by my grandfather Rasulullah that I'm thirsty. The horse of Imam al-Hussein circles around the Imam. Whenever an enemy combatant would approach, the horse would defend Abu Abdullah. The narrations say that the horse of Imam al-Hussein, because there is a bond between a horse and its owner, the horse was circling the body of Imam al-Hussein, and it started to rub its face in the blood of Aba Abdullah. The horse returned to the camp of Hussein. Imagine Sayyida Zainab. They see the horse of Aba Abdullah, but Imam is not on the horse. They see the horse covered in blood. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, if the horse of Hussein could speak, it would have said, الظليمة الظليمة من أمة قتلت ابن بنت نبيها. What an atrocity that the ummah of Rasulullah kills the grandson of its prophet. فحملوا عليه من كل جانب. If they just left Imam al-Hussein, he would have died on his own. But they continue to beat him. They continue to shoot arrows at him. They continue to strike him. They continue to throw rocks at him. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, what does he say? فجاءت الطعنة فوق الطعنة والضربة فوق الضربة. Every single inch of Imam al-Hussein's body was wounded. Anyone who wanted to stab the Imam would have to stab an already existing wound. So there were now wounds upon the wounds. There was not a part of his body that was not wounded at this moment. Ibn Shurayk la'anahullah, he comes to Imam al-Hussein. Imam is gasping for breath. He's in his final moments. Ibn Shurayk, he hit the left shoulder of Imam al-Hussein. Hussein ibn Numayr la'anahullah, he hit the mouth of Imam al-Hussein. They were all taking turns striking the Imam. Sinan ibn Anas hit the left shoulder of Imam al-Hussein. He took a spear and he drove the spear into the collarbone of Imam al-Hussein. Sayyida Zainab, she came out of her tent. She saw that Abi Abdullah was like a porcupine from the arrows and the spears. She sees Shimr approaching the scene. Sayyida Zainab, she looks at Umar ibn Sa'ad. She says, Ya Umar, ayuqtalu Abu Abdullah wa anta tanzur ilay? Oh Umar, are you just gonna stand there while Hussein is killed in front of you? Umar ibn Sa'ad, he turns his face away from Zainab. When Zainab sees Shimr, she puts her hands on her head. She says, Waylakum ama fikum Muslim. Woe be to you people, is there not a single Muslim among you? Harmala, Umar ibn Sa'ad, he says to Shimr, He says, Inzilu ilayhi wa arihu. Go to Hussein and relieve him. The narrations say that Shimr begins circling the body of Hussein. He starts walking around the body of Hussein. What does he do? He starts to kick the body of Abu Abdullah. He sits on the chest of Abu Abdullah. He grabs the beard of Abu Abdullah. He takes out a dull dagger and he stabs Imam al-Hussein 12 times until he severs the head of the Imam. Hussein, 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 Hussein.
بعد از قتل حسین 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 یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین مل کے پڑھو نیاز حسین ہے پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے پتھر کیا تم میرے حسین ہو کیسے پڑے ہیں جسم کے ٹکڑے جدا جدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو میرے حسین ہو ہائے ہائے میرے غریب کا کیا حال کر دیا گھوڑوں سے لاشا دشت میں ہائے پامال کر دیا پہچانوں کس طرح سے بدن سے ہے سر جدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے پڑھو نیاز حسین کیا تم میرے حسین ہو کیسے پڑے ہیں جسم کے ٹکڑے جدا جدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے ہائے 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 میرے غریب کا کیا حال کر دیا گھوڑوں سے لاشا دشت میں ہائے پامال کر دیا پہچانوں کس طرح سے بدن سے ہے سر جدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر ہٹا کے لاش سے زینب نے دی صدا کیا تم میرے حسین ہو پتھر کے لاش سے مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین مولا حق امام یا حسن یا حسین ہے یا حسین Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, 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 hey, Ya Hussein, 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 Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. हो प्यासे गले खंजर चले, प्यासे गले हो चादर चीनी, खैमे जले चादर चीनी, हो अब्बास के परचम तले, अब्बास के परचम तले रोती रही सैदानिया, मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन, मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन, मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन. वो असगरे बेशीरता, वो असगरे और हुरमला का तीरता, और हुरमला हो प्यासा गला क्यों कर कटा, प्यासा गला क्यों कर कटा, रोई जमी और आसमां, मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन, मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन, मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, मौला हक इमाम या हसन या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, 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 I left my heart in MashaAllah. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, 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 I left my heart in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala to Karbala, in Karbala, the luminous moon lining the way, the luminous moon lining the way, the rising sun that brightens the day. Heaven without you would be in flames. You're the heaven in Karbala, in Karbala, in your visitors offer you their hands, your visitors offer you their hands. Enemies will never understand. How can the water lose to the sun? How can the thirst win in Karbala, in Karbala, in why heaven is opening, Ya Hussein? Why angels descending upon Hussein? Why they are reciting Karbala, in Karbala, in Karbala. From Karbala, Karbala, Karbala. Raise your hands. To I left my heart in Karbala, from Hussein, Mawlai, 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 Hussein, Mawlai, 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 Hussein, Mawlai. Raise your hands. Mawlai Hussein, Mawlai, Mawlai. The rising sun rose feeling shy. The rising sun rose feeling shy. Today the clouds began to cry. Blood is the tear that leaves their eyes. What else can descend from the sky? While Hussein is about to bleed, with a few men he faced Yazid, defending his grandfather's name. Yazid has dared to face Hussein. Hussein, Mawlai, 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 Hussein, Mawlai, Mawlai. The best has stood against the West. The best has stood against the West. The blessed has stood against the cursed. The last has dared to face the first. The water stood against the thirst. Abbas has gone to bring the aid. His moonlights began to fade, tearing through all the forced blockage. A thirsty man reaches the lake under the burning sun, but you did what no other would do. You raised the water near your lips and you denied yourself a sip. Hussein, Mawlai, 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 Hussein. As he arrived at the river bank, dropping the flag Zainab's had sang, and in between the lake and tents, Abbas, you'll soon make a lament, ripping through them like you were a tank. You turned the left to the right flank, into the battlefield he delved, and started speaking to himself, heading towards the children. Sakina is my goal, carrying all their hopes in my arms, speaking out to my soul. Oh, I am Abbas, son of Ali. I am Abbas, son of Ali. I am the death in this valley. Within my left is Mikael, and in my right is Israel. Blood has never flowed through my veins, only the love for my Hussein. And now the love I have will drain as it be on the plains. Hussein, Mawlai, 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 Hussein, Mawlai, 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 Hussein. हो तेरा लहू रहेगा ना जाएगा, तेरा लहू रहेगा ना जाएगा। या हुसैन 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 या हुसैन। हुसैन तेरा लहू रहेगा ना जाएगा, है तेरा जाएगा। बहन का वादा है ये रंग जरूर लाएगा, है दिन की बका बिना लाला हुसैन बादशाह। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन व आलि मुहम्मद। अल्लाहुम्मा कुन लिवलिय्यिका अल-हुज्जति इब्निल हसन सलवातुका अलैहि व अला आबाए।